Chapter 10, Day 45, page 151. Persecution scatters God's people. As enmity is aroused in various places against those who observe the Sabbath of the Lord, it may become necessary for God's people to move from those places to places where they will not be so bitterly opposed. God does not require his children to remain where, by the course of wicked men, their influence is to be made of no effect and their lives endangered. When liberty and life are imperiled, it is not merely our privilege, it is our positive duty to go to places where the people are willing to hear the word of life and where the opportunities for preaching the word will be more favorable. The time is soon coming when God's people, because of persecution, will be scattered in many countries. Those who have received an all-round education will have the advantage where they are. Persecution leads to unity amongst God's people. When the storm of persecution really breaks upon us, the true sheep will hear the true shepherd's voice. Self-denying efforts will be put forth to save the lost, and many who have strayed from the fold will come back to follow the great shepherd. The people of God will draw together and present to the enemy a united front. In view of the common peril, strife for supremacy will cease, and there will be no disputing as to who shall be accounted greatest. Crisis makes God's interference more marked. From time to time, the Lord has made known his manner of working. He is mindful of what is passing upon the earth, and when a crisis has come, he has revealed himself and has interposed to hinder the work of Satan's plans. He has often permitted matters with nations, with families, and with individuals to come to a crisis that his interference might become marked. Then he has let the facts be known that there was a God in Israel who would sustain and vindicate his people. When the defiance of the law of Jehovah shall be almost universal, when his people shall be pressed in affliction by their fellow men, God will interpose. The fervent prayers of his people will be answered, for he loves to have his people seek him with all their heart and depend upon him as their deliverer. For a time the oppressors will be permitted to triumph over those who know God's holy commandments. To the last, God permits Satan to reveal his character as a liar, an accuser, and a murderer. Thus the final triumph of his people is made more marked, more glorious, and more full and complete. Affliction purifies God's people. Soon there is to be a trouble all over the world. It becomes everyone to seek to know God. We have no time to delay. God's love for his church is infinite. His care over his heritage is unceasing. He suffers no affliction to come upon the church but such as is essential for her purification, her present and eternal good. He will purify his church even as he purified the temple at the beginning and the close of his ministry on earth. All that he brings upon the church in test and trial comes that his people may gain deeper piety and more strength to carry the triumphs of the cross to all parts of the world. Afflictions, crosses, temptations, adversary, and our varied trials are God's workmen to refine us, sanctify us, and fit us for the heavenly garner. Chapter 11. Satan's Last Day Deceptions. Under the garb of Christianity. We are approaching the end of this earth's history, and Satan is working as never before. He is striving to act as director of the Christian world. With an intensity that is marvelous, he is working with lying wonders. Satan is represented as walking about as a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. He desires to embrace the whole world in its confederacy. Hiding his deformity under the garb of Christianity, he assumes the attributes of a Christian and claims to be Christ himself. The Word of God declares that when it suits the enemy's purpose, he will, through his agencies, manifest so great power under a pretense of Christianity that, if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Matthew 24, verse 24. As the spirits will profess faith in the church and manifest respect for institutions of the church, their work will be accepted as a manifestation of divine power. The strongest bulwark of vice in our world is not the iniquitous life of abandoned sinner or the degraded outcast. It is a life which otherwise appears virtuous, honourable, and noble, but in which one sin is fostered, one vice indulged. Genius, talent, sympathy, even generous and kindly deeds may thus become decoys of Satan to entice souls over the precipice of ruin.